Hi, my name is Anil Salam and today I'll be guiding you through this lab tutorial. Today we'll be talking about clusters. What are clusters? Clusters group data elements allowing to organize them into one control indicator or constant. As you can see on the screen, you would have a Boolean control, a numeric control, and another numeric control, and you will group them into one control. Advantages of using clusters. Clusters eliminate water clutter on the block diagram and reduce the number of tunnels that go in and out of a structure, which helps improve the performance of the BI. Rules for clusters. A clusters may have only controls, indicators, or constants, but never a combination of those. You can only link clusters that have the same elements in the same order. Linking two different clusters will result in a broken wire. The error cluster. The error cluster is a mechanism used to detect errors that may happen while a section of your code is running. This cluster is composed of three elements: the status, which is represented by a Boolean data, the code, which is represented by an integer, and the source, which specifies the source of the error using a string. Let's now start by creating a cluster. You right click in the front panel, go to Array Matrix and Clusters, and click on Cluster. To add elements to a cluster, you can add any element, control indicator, or constant by dragging it into the cluster. If you're in the front panel, you will not add constants. You can only do it by going to the block diagram and changing the cluster to a constant. Then drag inside all your constants. Let's choose a numeric indicator. You drag it inside, and now you have one element inside your cluster. Let's resize the cluster to get more elements. Now let's add a Boolean square LED. Now let's add another indicator, but let's now add a horizontal progress bar. Okay. As you see, the cluster is an indicator. If you want to switch it to a control, you right click and click Change to Control. Let's get it back to indicator. Click on Change to Constant. As you can see, the order is a numeric of double precision data, then a Boolean constant, and then a numeric integer. Now to switch the order in which the elements are in this cluster, let's get it back to a indicator. It can be either a control or an indicator, but you have to be in the front panel. Now you right click and then you click Reorder Controls in Cluster. Then you click the order in which you want the controls to be set. So let's say first slide, then numeric, then Boolean. And then you click on Confirm. Now if you go back to the block diagram and you click on Change to Constant, they will be in that order. Let's now copy this one and change it to control. Let's change the order again. You need a different order for this one. Confirm and change it to an indicator. Now if you want to wire them together, there will be a broken error since the order is not the same, even though they have the same elements. Delete the indicator. Now, to get the elements of a cluster by themselves, you have to right click, go to cluster class invariant, and click on either unbundle or unbundle by name. Let's first click on unbundle. You wire it to the cluster and you get the numeric value, the boolean, and the slide. Now you may also use the unbundle by name. Now you may only have one of the controls or all of them, but you will have them by their name. It doesn't matter really the order. You can choose boolean, slide, numeric. Now if you want to create a cluster by grouping elements, you will have to choose bundle and then add the elements. You resize it and then you create your indicator. Now you see that the thing I only did was wire the data to the inputs, but if I first wire the cluster that I want to create, they will be there automatically for me to wire them, since it's trying to create the same cluster that it's already created before. Now you may also use the bundle by name. In here you will have to use the input cluster, and then you may choose which data you want to input. You can also pass data from cluster to array or array to cluster, or create here a cluster constant. Let's now talk about the error cluster. If you want to create an error cluster, right click on the front panel and click on error in 3D control. If you want to see the components that conform this cluster, you go to unbundle, and there you have the status, the code, and the source. Now if you have a while loop, you don't really need to use the unbundle to get the while loop to stop whenever there is an error. The error cluster automatically, by wiring that, will give it the boolean data to the conditional terminal. Now if you go to dialog and user interface, you will see some functions that will help you manage those errors that may happen while your VI is running. You have the 1 button dialog, the 2 button, the 3 button. You may press Ctrl and H to see your context help, and here they will explain what each function does. For example, if you want to clear errors, what this does is you get the error in, and the error that will go out is no error. Thank you for watching this live tutorial.